From skyscrapers that in China are assembled in a matter of days, to entire parks printed on three-dimensional printers, to floating airports and AR technologies that are changing the very approach to construction, it feels like China is already living in the future, while the rest of the world is only watching from the sidelines. The projects I am about to talk about prove that, when it comes to construction, China has gone ahead by about 100 years. Huajiang Canyon Bridge. Let us begin with the bridge across the Huajiang Canyon, a real puzzle for engineers already at the planning stage. Imagine this. The structure had to be erected at a height of more than 2,000 feet above the ground. That makes it the highest bridge in the world. When it opens to traffic, the project will officially break the world height record, and the previous record is also held by a bridge in this same province. You simply cannot drag ordinary construction equipment up to such a height in the mountains, especially cranes. Do you know what Chinese engineers did? Instead of giving up, they came up with a fundamentally new solution. Since an ordinary crane was useless here, the engineers deployed the largest cable crane system in the world. Cranes moving along taut cables carefully installed the heavy trusses of the bridge. Each such section weighed at least 21,000 tons. Every single element had to be placed with jeweler-level precision. To achieve this kind of accuracy, the Chinese used the Internet of Things and the BU satellite system. In this way, they controlled the position of every part so that everything would line up perfectly. And according to the construction team itself, the bridge is equipped with an entire neural network of smart cables that monitor the condition of the main cables in real time. The entire bridge is pure engineering magic, and this is far from the only crazy project in China. Mini Sky City. In 2015, China literally shocked the whole world. They built a skyscraper not in years, and not even in months, but in days. In 19 days, to be precise. The project was called Mini Sky City, and it was pure engineering genius in action. A building roughly 670 feet tall was erected in parts, and this entire giant rose in just 19 days. The secret lies in modular construction. The building's elements were manufactured in advance at a factory. Finished modules were simply delivered to the site and assembled, literally like a Lego set. When all the blocks were in place, workers began assembling them, and the process went at an incredible speed. Just look, an entire skyscraper literally grows before your eyes in just a few days. It seems impossible, but China did it. And this is not the limit. The same company is already planning to assemble, using the same scheme, a building 220 floors high. For comparison, Mini Sky City is only 57 floors. Their ambitions are clearly limitless, and the next project only confirms this. Han-Li Shikaman Complex Relocation. So, what do you do if you need to build an underground facility, and right on top of the site, there is a historic complex of buildings? Most countries would argue about it for a long time, and might end up demolishing it. But in China, they simply take the entire complex and move it away. The authorities decided to build underneath Huajiang Shikaman an entire underground shopping center, parking lot, and connections to metro lines. But they did not want to demolish the historic buildings. That is when a crazy idea was born: to take a walk with this complex. Using a combination of robotic hydraulic jacks, the entire complex, weighing about 8,270 tons, was lifted up. Then the jacks began to move in a literally walking motion, shifting the buildings to the side. When the structures ended up outside the construction zone, the underground infrastructure was calmly built beneath them. And then the entire complex was just as carefully set back in place. You have to admit, it sounds like magic, but it is reality. And if it seems to you that this is already the peak of innovation, wait, it gets even more interesting. Nummer 1. Kella Power Station. China's Kella power station is one of the most unusual infrastructure facilities on the planet. What makes it so special? First, its location. The entire station is at an extreme altitude, where the strongest winds blow and piercing cold rains. Even this alone creates a host of problems for builders and equipment. But that is still not the main thing. The key feature is different. The station is not fully hydroelectric, but not fully solar either. It is a hybrid. Over an area of 170 million square feet, huge fields of solar panels and hydro installations have been placed. They work together and generate 1 gigawatt of electricity. And all of this is renewable energy. As the project is completed, the capacity is planned to be increased even further. This station, built on the basis of innovations and cutting-edge technologies, is already considered the largest facility of the hydro plus photovoltaics format in the world. And all of this is on the top of a mountain, where in winter the temperature drops to minus 30 degrees. This is no longer just engineering. It is sheer madness, multiplied by genius. And now get ready. The next example is practically from the realm of science fiction. Inflatable construction domes. China has found an unusual solution to the eternal problem of construction sites: noise and dust. Instead of using ineffective classic methods, construction companies started inflating a giant air dome around the site. As a result, the entire site ends up in a closed bubble that absorbs the noise from heavy machinery and does not let dust and harmful particles escape outside. Everything that used to scatter around the neighborhood is now trapped inside and calmly filtered out by special air purification systems. Thanks to such solutions, the Chinese have managed to implement truly incredible buildings. One of them is our next hero. Fosen Foundation Cultural Center. In front of you is the Fosen Foundation Cultural Center, and it has one feature that literally changes the building itself every time you look at it. The theater uses a special construction technique, so-called kinetic facades, that is, movable elements in the building shell. Initially at the heart of this project, the cultural building of the Fosen Foundation was conceived, and one of the main ideas was this: is it possible to create an architectural curtain that would live its own life? The answer is yes. But the Fosen Foundation implemented this approach in its own way. On the outside of the theater hang numerous curtains that move so slowly that you might not even notice how waves pass along the facade. But every time you lift your eyes to it, the picture is just a little bit different. Time-lapse videos show how the layers of the facade shift and form smooth wave-like patterns that change day and night, so the building never looks the same. And this is not only beautiful. These facades also actively participate in the work of the complex. Depending on what event is taking place inside, the panels can be moved, opening or closing the balcony stage, the multifunctional hall, creating a view of the river to the east or of the buildings to the west. The entire structure is a real love letter to art. And all this is just a warm-up before the next project, which breaks usual boundaries. AICT 3D Printed Park. Now imagine an entire park with an area of about 59,449 square feet, created entirely with the help of three-dimensional printing. This is exactly what the AICT park looks like, printed on three-dimensional printers. Every bench, every small architectural form, every sculpture in this park appeared thanks to giant three-dimensional printers that use concrete as the main material. The shapes they create are simply mesmerizing. The entire park looks like a single fluid structure. Wave-like lines smoothly flow into one another. Even details such as flower beds, retaining walls and curbs are printed here. And here's the main thing. A park of this scale was completely finished in just 2.5 months, and it cost significantly less than if everything had been built using traditional methods. China takes three-dimensional printing very seriously as a full-fledged construction technology, while the rest of the world seems stuck in the past. And the next structure only reinforces this impression. 3. Printed pedestrian bridge. You have to agree, the last thing you expect to see is an entire bridge created on a three-dimensional printer. But in China, they made this a reality as well. And not some tiny crossing, but a full-fledged pedestrian bridge in Shanghai. Its length is almost 86 feet, and as of today, it is the largest pedestrian bridge in the world, fully printed with three-dimensional technologies. It took about 450 hours of work by 2 robotic manipulators to create it. The side parts of the bridge are decorated with wave-shaped facades that fit perfectly into the surrounding landscape. The supporting part consists of 44 hollow concrete blocks, and the railings are made of 66 separate modules. Like other three-dimensional objects in China, this bridge was cheaper and built faster than it would have been using traditional methods. But let us move away from three-dimensional printing for a moment and look at a project that amazes you by its appearance alone. Angie Culture and Art Center. The Angie Culture and Art Center Cultural and Exhibition Complex is like a building from the future that was accidentally thrown into our time. On paper, such a project looks almost unreal, but China is step by step turning it into reality. The most unusual part of the center is its roof. It will be made in the form of giant bamboo leaves that combine natural forms and ultra-modern design. They will be built in such a way that it will seem as if the roofs are floating in the air. Curved white metal panels will give the complex a truly cosmic look. But the story does not end there. The building will implement a unique system that will collect rainwater and use it for passive cooling of the entire complex. So, before us is at the same time a beautiful and incredibly practical facility. Sustainability and rationality in one bottle. And yes, this whole giant will occupy an area of about 1,291,000 square feet. Does it sound insane? It is. Construction is planned to be completed already this year. But this is far from the only grandiose project that awaits China in the future. Take at least the Phoenix Towers. Phoenix Towers. This is a project of super skyscrapers that they plan to build in the city of Wuhan. How tall? Get ready. The taller of the two towers is expected to reach about 3,300 feet. That is 1,000 meters. This will make it the second tallest structure in the world. But to be honest, the height is far from the most interesting thing in this project. There are plenty of crazy ideas even without that. First, the entire complex is going to be built on an artificial island in the middle of a lake with an area of about 7 hectares. Second, the energy supply system is truly astounding. The outer surfaces of the towers will be covered with solar panels. Plus, the buildings will use other green technologies: wind energy, geothermal sources, biomass, and even hydrogen fuel cells. It sounds like science fiction, but it is a real project. And the cherry on top is that one of the towers will house the highest garden in the world on its upper level. China really knows how to raise the bar. It is interesting to see how other countries, especially Dubai, with its love of records, will react to this. And now, from skyscrapers to how China is literally changing cities themselves. Sponge City Landscaping. Sponge City. This is what they call the approach to urban planning that China is actively promoting. And it works so well that it seems almost unreal. Initially, China faced serious environmental problems: floods, water shortages, overheated cities. The answer was a new format of landscaping. Instead of boring lawns and asphalt, they create rain gardens, green roofs, wetlands, sunken parks, and urban forests, weaving all of this directly into the structure of the city. Why? It is simple. Such zones retain water and create an environment for rich biodiversity. These are not desert cities with identical small trees every 100 meters. These are living ecosystems that solve several problems at once. The sponge landscape improves the environment, provides refuge for hundreds of species of plants and animals, and at the same time, works like a giant sponge. Water seeps into the soil, replenishes groundwater, and helps cope with floods. Even sidewalks here are made in such a way that water can go into the ground. And the main point is that this is not a theory. This approach is already being used in various cities in China. The Kunli Stormwater Park serves both as a recreation area and a biodiversity hub. The same can be said about the Lingang Sponge City District in Shanghai and the Zhuhai Henshin Free Trade Zone. The result is cities that are much better protected from floods, and at the same time are drowning in healthy greenery that temporarily takes the brunt of the elements. Multifunctionality at the maximum level. Dalian Jinsuan, Airport Island. It might seem that in terms of airport architecture, other countries could compete with China. But no, they have a new trump card, the airport in Dalian. Although, strictly speaking, it will not be exactly in Dalian. That is the trick. China is not building the airport on the mainland or on some existing island. Instead, they created an entire island specifically for the new air complex. Construction began back in 2011 and is now moving toward the finish line. It is expected that in 2026, the Dalian Jinhuan Airport will be fully operational and will become the largest offshore, essentially floating airport in the world. The project itself is sheer engineering audacity to create an entire air hub right in the sea. It sounds insane, but China apparently will see the idea through to the end, and we will be able to see it with our own eyes. However, this is far from the only area where they are breaking all patterns. Take at least the Yangu Dam printed using three-dimensional technologies. Yangu 3D printed dam. The Yangu Dam, about 590 feet high, which China plans to build on the Tibetan Plateau, at first glance looks like an ordinary hydraulic structure. But everything changes when you understand how exactly they are going to build it. The entire dam will be printed from scratch with the help of giant three-dimensional construction printers. They work roughly the same way as your home three-dimensional printer, only instead of plastic, they use concrete. The machines will apply concrete layer by layer until the entire structure grows. But that is not all. Almost all of the equipment on the construction site, cranes, dump trucks, bulldozers, will operate under the control of artificial intelligence, without regular operators. The machines will move and interact in such a way as not to interfere with each other, to avoid accidents and simply to work as smoothly as possible. This dam will become one of the most innovative projects of our time, and at the same time a demonstration of the possibilities of a new technology. It is planned that it will be completely built in less than 2 years. For such a scale, that is incredibly fast. If China succeeds, it will prove that dams and other megastructures can be massively built according to a similar scheme, opening the road to dozens of new projects. But it is not only about individual facilities. There is an entire set of technologies that in China are already becoming the norm. They sound like science fiction, especially for those who live in other countries. Let us take a look at some of them. Self-climbing formwork. At first glance, it may seem that some strange mechanism is crawling along the facade. But in fact, this is one of the key technologies that China actively uses in high-rise construction, a self-climbing formwork system. How does it work? Formwork is essentially a mold into which concrete is poured so that it hardens in the desired shape. In this case, the formwork is not static. It can be lifted higher and higher, floor by floor, until the building is completed. The lifting mechanism is most often based on hydraulics. As a result, you get something like a giant robot that simultaneously climbs upward and builds. In this way, workers can cast an entire floor in one cycle, then raise the system higher and repeat the process. The construction speed increases many times over. True, there is a limitation. This technology is suitable only for buildings with repeating floor plans. But for residential and office high-rises, this is almost never a problem. And now let us see how China accelerates the construction of railways. Super high-speed rail track laying. In China, rails for high-speed trains are laid not by teams of workers, but by entire robotic complexes. The country has developed a system called super high-speed railway track laying, and the way it works is truly impressive. China has one of the largest high-speed rail networks in the world, and they continue to expand it. And it is precisely these machines that make this possible. The complex includes rail cutters, feeding and laying machines, special tractors, and other mechanisms that work as a single organism under the control of artificial intelligence. These giant units transport all the necessary materials, automatically dump ballast, lay sleepers, place rails, and fasten them. Human participation is minimized, and the result is impressive. Already now, such a system makes it possible to lay up to 2 kilometers of track per day. And China is going further. They are developing a fully autonomous complex that will be able to work around the clock and increase speed even more. How far will they go? If this surprised you, wait. Now, you will see how they build tunnels. Tunnel boring machine. Tunnel boring machines are used all over the world, but in China, they have been taken to a completely different level. The reason is simple. Their new units are truly astonishing. First, the size. Chinese shields are giants, hundreds of feet long, capable of driving tunnels under multi-lane highways in one go. Their main competitor in terms of size is perhaps only the American Bertha. But it is not just about size. China designs its machines for the country's extremely complex geological conditions. These beasts work excellently in the toughest rock, withstand pressure, and keep drilling. Moreover, many Chinese machines are made modular. They are easier to transport in parts and assemble on site. And with artificial intelligence-based systems, their operation becomes even more efficient. Fewer risks, fewer downtimes, more precision. China has truly brought tunneling technology to perfection. And if you think this is the limit, take a look at another area where they have gone far ahead: the use of drones. Drone-assisted material transport. China has literally integrated drones into everyday life. They are used not only for beautiful aerial footage. For example, farmers in the mountains use drones to transport the harvest. Fire departments launch drones to fight fires. But the most impressive field is construction. Recently, footage has appeared showing companies using drones to deliver construction materials, such as solar panels, over difficult terrain. It is faster, cheaper, and often safer. And that is not all. In China, special heavy drones have been developed that can lift large loads to great heights. Yes, there is a weight limit, but their speed and maneuverability completely compensate for this drawback. One of the most unusual examples is the construction of a bridge in southwestern China. There, drones were used to stretch the first cables between the two sides of the bridge, without resorting to complex schemes and without putting people in danger. You have to admit, this application of technology looks truly ingenious. Rotating bridge deck construction. It seems that China simply loves building bridges, but the main thing is how they do it. While other countries close roads and create traffic jams for months, the Chinese have found a way to build bridges while almost not interfering with traffic. Instead of constructing the bridge directly above the highway and blocking it, they do something else. The structure is assembled to the side, away from the road, and when everything is ready, they rotate it into place. How is this even possible? Again, hydraulics. The finished sections are installed on special supports, after which powerful hydraulic systems rotate them until they align with the required axis. Everything is connected, and the bridge is ready, and the road beneath it almost did not have to be closed. We have already seen many complex technologies, but what about the most basic thing? Ordinary bricklaying. Here too, China has gone its own way. Robotic bricklaying systems. Artificial intelligence has given the world a lot of useful machines, and one example is the bricklaying robot. China is actively developing such systems and is already using them on construction sites. The advantage is obvious. Robots work quickly, do not ask for breaks, and lay bricks with such precision that you will not find a single uneven seam. Thanks to this, China multiplies productivity, roughly 10 times compared to classical methods. In addition, such robots do not need a lot of additional equipment. They cope with the task almost independently. But of course, bricklaying is not the only job. Beside them, another development appears. Robotic plastering. China went even further and automated even plastering work. There are already robots in operation that apply and level cement mortar on walls in a matter of minutes. They leave behind a perfectly smooth surface that is convenient to work with further. The technology is developing rapidly, although it is not yet ready to completely replace people. But looking at the speed of progress, it seems that the first country with fully automated construction sites will indeed be China. What do you think? Is this good or still a little scary? Write what you think, and in the meantime, we will move on to a material that completely changes the idea of concrete. Self-healing concrete. Self-healing concrete is a material that literally burst into the construction world and quickly became one of the most discussed technologies. And of course, China did not stay on the sidelines. Imagine concrete that cracks and then heals those cracks itself. No repair crews, no replacing blocks. It sounds like magic, but it is pure science. Inside such concrete lives a special type of bacteria. These microorganisms, at the right moment, release calcium carbonate. When a crack appears in the structure, the bacteria wake up and begin to fill it with crystals, essentially cementing the gap from the inside. The result is much more durable, reliable structures that last longer and require less maintenance. One of the brightest examples is a highway in Shanghai. The asphalt on it has self-healing properties. This prevents potholes from appearing and significantly reduces maintenance costs. China is already using self-healing concrete in sidewalks, bridges, and buildings. On this, we will finish for today. What do you think? Is China really living in the future? What do you think about all these projects and technologies? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments. It will be very interesting to read them. And that is all for today. Thank you for watching, and check out our previous incredible episodes on the Top Facts channel.